Mr. Donnelly, please call the roll for attendance.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mary Adams.
Present.
Anthony Canaccio. Anthony Canaccio.
Anthony Canaccio. I'm here.
Oh, Anthony. Arnold Drucker.
Here, present.
Jorge Guardian is not here. Rich Gutierrez.
Present.
Jeffrey Grimes.
Present.
Sharif Amin.
Present.
Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Donnelly. This time I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes.
No. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Any abstention? So moved. Standing committees, finance and capital.
I'd like to make a motion under Article 4, Section 3F of the Board of Rules of Procedure to allow for the consideration of an item that does not appear on the calendar.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Requisition 57175 in the amount. Am I doing this individually? No, just the result. Yeah, you can just say result. I'm sorry, I apologize. There are 3 expenditures. Resolved that the aforementioned expenditures be approved and authorized.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any against?
Opposed on, I'm not too sure which this is, but requisition 57175.
Okay.
I don't know if that's A, B, or C. Or this. That's C?
C.
I'm opposed on C. Aye on the other two.
Any abstention? So moved. Item 2.
Item 2. Resolve that Nassau Community College Board of Trustees hereby approve an increase in 2011 to 2012 state operating and in the amount of $839,167 from $41,456,390 to $42,295,557 with no increase in the total operating budget. Be it further resolved that this revision be forwarded to the State University of New York for approval.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Any abstention? So moved.
We have an establishment of a separate grant fund. As part of the agreement with Beacon Wireless, Nassau Community College will be paid a one-time sign-up fee for each carrier in the amount of $25,000 and an annual payment of $15,000 per carrier, which escalates at 3% per year. This revenue is eligible for state matching funds under the SUNY Capital Program for Community Colleges. In order to account for this revenue properly, a separate grant fund will be needed to be established. As funds are used for projects, the state reimbursement will be added to the fund and used to fund additional efforts. Be it resolved that the Nassau Community College Board of Trustees approves the establishment of a separate grant fund to account for revenue to Nassau Community College for the Beacon Wireless cell tower release.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Any abstention? So moved.
I make a motion under Article 4, Section 3F of the Board of Rules of Procedure to allow for the consideration of an item that does not appear on the calendar.
I second the motion.
All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Vehicle registration fee. Be it therefore resolved that the Nassau Community College Board of Trustees does hereby amend Board Resolution 11/12-50 approved on April 30th, 2012, relating to tuition and fees for the 2012/2013 fiscal year for the purpose of exempting those individuals designated by the Student Government Association not to exceed 30 individuals per semester as, quote, student leaders, unquote, from the obligation to pay the Nassau Community College vehicle registration fee. And be it further resolved that any vehicle registration fee that has been paid by individuals designated by the Student Government Association as, quote, student leaders, unquote, not to exceed 30 individuals for the fall 2012 semester shall be hereby refunded to them forthwith. And be it further resolved that those individuals designated by the Student Government Association as student leaders not to exceed 30 individuals per semester shall be exempt from the semester that they are so designated by the Student Government Association as student leaders from the obligation to pay such Nassau Community College vehicle registration fees as may be approved by the Board of Trustees as part of the tuition and fee schedule applicable to further fiscal years. Do I have a second?
Yes, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Any abstention? So moved.
I make a motion under Article 4, Section 3F of the Board's Rule of Procedure to allow for the consideration of an item that does not appear on the calendar. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Whereas Dr. Kenneth K. Saunders was appointed officer in charge of Nassau Community College effective July 30, 2012, and whereas Dr. Saunders' performance in the position of officer in charge has been exemplary, and whereas the Nassau Community College Board of Trustees recognizes that Dr. Saunders' ability to provide leadership at the college and to interact with off-campus individuals and entities will be enhanced if he is appointed acting president of Nassau Community College. And whereas the Nassau Community College Board of Trustees is actively engaged in initiating the process by which a president of Nassau Community College will be chosen, including the appointment of a board subcommittee that has been charged with the responsibility of identifying constituency groups that should be included in the Presidential Search Committee, as well as reviewing the options for the utilization of a firm that will assist in the presidential search process. And whereas the Nassau Community College Board of Trustees recognizes that the appointment of an acting president of the college requires the approval of the Board of Trustees of the State University of New York, therefore be it resolved that the Nassau Community College Board of Trustees does hereby recommend to the Board of Trustees of the State University of New York that Dr. Kenneth K. Saunders be appointed to be acting president of Nassau Community College at the salary of $225,000 to be effective upon the approval of the Board of Trustees of the State University of New York. Do I have a second?
Second.
Looks like you stole my line.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Any abstention? So moved. And for the time being, it's still, I'll ask for the report of the officer in charge.
Good evening. I'd like to begin by just giving a general review of the impact of the Superstorm Sandy. And I'll begin by just talking about the facilities that are offline. As a result of this storm and our collective effort to be responsive to the needs of the greater community, the physical education complex has been designated as an evacuation site. At its highest level, we had 1,200 individuals in there. As of today, we have about 318 individuals in that facility. And we're working to try to free that facility up as soon as possible. But the alternative plan in the interim is to be able to consolidate the evacuation services to one floor with the intent of freeing up the lower level so that we can start utilizing that level for many of the activities that we need to continue the delivery of our services. The campus center building has also been designated as a special needs unit. At its highest level, it was about a little over 100 occupants there. And now, as of today, we have about 22 individuals. It is our intent to try to at least free up the campus center building by the end of the semester, so that as we move into the spring semester, we'll be in a much better position to accommodate all of the programming that we've had to suspend as a result of this. Our old college union building is being utilized by FEMA to respond to the issues and the concerns of the larger community, and we really don't have a sense in terms of how long that will be. We're currently in discussions with them, and we'll have more detailed information about that in a go-forward fashion. I would just want to thank everyone, faculty, staff, and administration, for the extent to which we work collaboratively to be responsive to this tragedy that we've experienced. As I look out into the audience, I think I'm looking at Logan and I'm looking at Kimberly, and we have really worked very closely with one another, making certain that we have identified every concern that could arise, and it seems like every major issue has arrived at some point during this period. But we met on a regular basis, not just those two, but with the ungraded administrators and all of the key representatives every day at 4 o'clock to identify critical issues that we needed to address the following day. And as a result of those meetings and the work that was invested the night of, so that the next day we could be much more responsive to the identified concerns, is an attestament to the extent to which we have been able to work as a collective. And as a result of that, we've been very effective. But that flexibility that was exhibited there was extended with the faculty. Especially, I like to acknowledge Anissa Moore and Ed Mack and the service offices of the registrar and the bursar for all of the work that they did in moving some 1,700 sections out of the physical education complex to another location so that we can continue the delivery of courses for our students while continuing to be responsive to the needs of the larger community. It was an act of just goodwill and being sensitive to the issues and concerns of our larger community, while recognizing that a large percentage of us in our immediate community were dealing with many of the concerns that we were providing evacuation services for the individuals who had to utilize them. One of the things that I just wanted to share with you is that we have done a preliminary assessment of what the cost of all of this has been. One of the things that we're looking at is a potential loss in revenue, because as of right now, we're looking at approximately 150 cases of hardship withdrawals, which will equal to about $200,000, and we're not at the end of the semester yet. But when we look at an assessment of all of the expenditures that we have had to incur, repairs to buildings, the repairing data lines and security alarm systems that were damaged as a result of trees going down, looking at what we've done for FEMA with the services that we're providing for the Red Cross and the special needs operation. When we look at all of those costs, we're currently looking at about $958,000 that we're going to be making an application for reimbursement. We anticipate that it may very well be more than that, but that's the figure that we're looking at this point. So again, thank you, and we're to be all congratulated for the work and the effort that we've put in to be responsive not only to our students and ourselves, but to the larger community. And I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the effort of the foundation in terms of establishing emergency relief fund for faculty and staff, a $15,000 fund that individuals who may need emergency resources, anywhere from $250 to $500, is available. That information is online, and if you know of anyone, if you personally are in need of that assistance, I encourage you to take full advantage of that. And again, it's just another example of how we've come together to be responsive to the identified concerns. Changing gears, I just want to announce that the administration will be initiating immediately with the formulation of search committees for the position of the Associate Vice President for Distance Education, the Dean for Arts and Humanities, the Dean for Social and Behavioral Science, the Dean for Nursing and Health Sciences, the Dean for Professional Studies, and an Associate Vice President for Human Resources. We will begin the process of identifying the selection committees. We hope to have all of those things in place aggressively before the Christmas holiday, but reasonably sometime in January. And we will move forward with those searches and the identifications of individuals who will fill those positions on a permanent basis. It's my pleasure to announce that the Middle States Commission on Higher Education just submitted a letter that I received in the office yesterday, acknowledging the progress report that I made reference to at the General Faculty meeting. On August 1st, the college sent a progress report to the Middle States Commission. On October 1st, the college submitted a progress report to the Middle States Commission. We received a letter from them stating that we had satisfied all of the interim steps that need to be addressed, and the next step that we will be moving into will be actually the beginning of the decennial self-study review, and that will begin immediately. I would like to just extend a word of an apology. I thought that the progress report that was submitted on October 1st had been sent out to key constituent groups, the Academic Senate Executive Committee, the chairs of the various departments, and my academic deans. I inadvertently forgot to push the send button on that. You will get that information. If it's not in your mailboxes right now, you will have that information in your mailboxes first thing tomorrow morning. I'm used to saying Monday morning. I also like to share that we have sent out the letters that have informed the faculty who were impacted by the improper practice on the management of temporary lines. The PERB decision was that those individuals that were in temporary positions should be moved into probationary positions. A letter and an email was sent out to those individuals. They may not receive the letter, but they should have the email to make their Thanksgiving a happy Thanksgiving and know that they are now probationary. And congratulations to all of you. I'd just like for a moment to acknowledge the SUNY Chancellor Awards at the General Faculty meeting. We had 10 individuals, faculty, teaching and non-teaching representatives that were recognized. If you were here, would you please stand? I see at least one representative here. But if you're here, would you please stand so that we can acknowledge you? That we have 10 recipients for a prestigious award through the State University of New York system is another indication of the quality of the faculty that we have here at Nassau Community College. Last but certainly not least, I'd like to acknowledge our football team that had a winning season, and they've been invited and have accepted an invitation to represent Nassau Community College in the El Toro football game in Yuma, Arizona on Saturday, December 1st. I've been invited to join them. I don't think I'm going to be able to join them, but I am going to be there in spirit. So that, and I hope that and with that, I would like to wish everyone a very healthy and happy Thanksgiving. Thank you very much.
Can I just make a quick comment? I just want to first thank everyone for all the assistance and the help with this recovery from Sandy. I would also like to extend my thanks to all the faculties who actually are working closely with the professors, especially when they need assistance as far as getting extra help or putting in more time. And I would like to recognize all of you for that. Thank you very much from the student. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Saunders, and thank you, Trustee Amin. And good evening to everyone. Obviously, since the last time that we've met, Long Island has gone under a fundamental and dramatic change. And I hope that everyone that has been affected by Superstorm Sandy has regained some sense of normalcy in their lives. And I would like to once again thank Dr. Saunders and applaud Dr. Saunders and everyone involved in the coordination efforts here on Nassau Community College as a designated evacuation area. You all deserve applause. And for those who aren't here, you all deserve applause. I'm sure that those that were displaced, the county and this board greatly appreciates those efforts. At the last meeting, an issue was raised regarding the Nassau Community College Foundation Board. For those of you that are unaware, this is an independent charitable arm of the college charged with promoting goodwill for the college as well as raising money for vitally needed scholarships for our students. And although a detailed report has previously been forwarded to some of the leadership of some of the constituency groups, I just want to respond to some of the issues raised in turn. As far as point one, any association of former Nassau Community College Board of Trustee member Michael Freeman with respect to quote-unquote reportable compensation on the NCC Foundation Board's tax filing for 2009 and 2010 was a result of an inadvertent clerical error by the accounting firm of Connor and DeConti. The information supplied by the NCC Foundation to Connor and DeConti referred to Arthur Freeman, F-R-I-E-D-M-A-N, also a member of the NCC Foundation Board. And then Connor and DeConti accidentally transposed the names of Arthur Freeman, F-R-I-E-D-M-A-N, with Michael Freeman, F-R-E-E-M-A-N. I have documents, an email from February 11, 2011 from the NCC Foundation transmitting the name Freeman, F-R-I-E-D-M-A-N, and a letter dated October 19, 2012 from Connor and DeConti acknowledging the clerical error on their part in writing the name Freeman, F-R-E-E-M-A-N. So point two, Michael Freeman did not receive any compensation from the Nassau Community College Foundation for the 2009-2010 tax year, or any compensation whatsoever from Nassau Community College for the 2009-2010 tax year, or any compensation from Nassau Community College ever. Attached, well, I have documents, a letter dated October 11, 2012 from Connor and DeConti indicating that Mr. Freeman, F-R-E-E-M-A-N, received no compensation from the foundation for the tax years in question, and documentation from of a letter dated October 19, 2012 from Nassau Community College Vice President for Finance indicating that a review of the NCC's Office of Human Resources and Accounts Payable found no documentation indicating that Mr. Freeman had received compensation from the college for the tax year in question. Dr. Kimberly Reiser and Alicia Sanchez are not at any risk that the Internal Revenue Service will attribute any income to them as a result of the NCC Foundation's Board's tax filings for 2009-2010. No 1099 or W-2 forms were filed by the NCC Foundation on behalf of Dr. Reiser or Ms. Sanchez. In the amended tax filing for 2009-2010 by the Foundation, it was explicitly stated that no trustees or directors were paid for their services to the Foundation. The incorrectly disclosed compensation amounts to Kimberly Reiser and Alicia Sanchez were payments to them by Nassau Community College for services unrelated to this foundation. I have a letter dated October 19 from Connor and DeConti indicating that the foundation was not required to issue a W-2 form or Form 1099 for Dr. Reiser or Ms. Sanchez. I also have a 2012 amendment to the 2009-2010 tax filing of the NCC Foundation. The version of the 2009-2010 NCC Foundation tax filing that Dr. Siminoff received from the Foundation office, and to which she referred in her remarks to the Board of the Trustees on October 10, 2012, as the proffered version, and that did not list compensation to Dr. Reiser, Ms. Sanchez, and incorrectly Mr. Freeman, was a draft version, the first page of which had the word draft printed on it in bold letters. The mention of the names of Dr. Reiser, Ms. Sanchez, and incorrectly Mr. Freeman, F-R-E-E-M-A-N, in some of the 2009-2010 tax filings of the NCC Foundation and not others was the result of different interpretations of the relevant legal requirements. I have an earlier reference document, a letter from Connor DeConti dated October 19, 2012, which states that upon further review of the IRS regulations governing Form 990 and discussions with the exempt organizations divisions of the IRS, it was determined that such disclosure is unnecessary. Accordingly, the 2009 Form 990 has been amended to eliminate all compensation figures to reflect that no one was paid for their services to the foundation. And in conclusion, the new information that Dr. Siminoff referred to in her remarks to the Board of Trustees on October 10, 2012 was at its core based on provable and proven clerical error by Connor and DeConti. As a result, it is clear that any reference to Michael Freeman, the subject of the clerical error, is now irrelevant. Moreover, in light of the fact that no W-2 forms or 1099 forms were filed by the Foundation on behalf of Dr. Reiser and Ms. Sanchez, and in light of the fact that the NCC's amended tax filing for 2009 and 2010 explicitly states that neither Dr. Reiser nor Ms. Sanchez were paid by the Foundation, but instead were already accounted for payments by Nassau Community College, neither Dr. Reiser nor Ms. Sanchez are at any legal risk of having phantom income, to use Dr. Simonov's phrase, of being attributed to them by the Internal Revenue Service. On an unrelated note, but as was also brought up at the last Board of Trustees meeting, there's an understandable concern about the lack of an academic vice president or a vice president of academic affairs. Having heard the arguments for and against the hiring of a vice president for academic affairs, it is the position of the board at this time to suspend the selection for either a temporary or permanent vice president for academic affairs until the selection of the next president of Nassau Community College is completed, based partly on the arguments that we heard by the faculty members that spoke up on behalf, as well as the presentation given by Dr. Saunders at the last Board of Trustees meeting. As many of you know, the Board of Trustees and the Nassau Community College Federation of Teachers began bargaining in August of 2011 for an extension to their current contract, which is scheduled to expire on August 31st, 2013. The parties engaged in negotiations for over a one-year period. During that period, the parties met on many occasions, and both sides attempted to come up with a deal that could possibly alleviate the college's projected budget deficit. Unfortunately, these discussions were not successful, and the discussions ended this past fall. On October 26, 2012, the board proposed to the NCCFT the parties immediately begin negotiations for a successor agreement to the current labor agreement, which is noted above will shortly expire. This proposal was made with the hope that beginning the process earlier than usual will help expedite a successful conclusion to negotiations. On November 6, 2012, the NCCFT declined the college's offer. Its stated reason for doing so is because beginning the process earlier than the spring will place the association in conflict with the mandates of its bylaws. The president of the NCCFT in turn communicated that negotiations to effectuate a contract extension will continue to be welcomed. It is the board's view that further efforts to modify the existing contract, which expires next August, will be unwise and ineffective because, in large measure, the college's opportunity to realize economic relief from the college's immediate contractual obligations has passed. Consistent with the terms and conditions set forth in 2008-2013 collective bargaining agreement, NCCFT members received the last wage increase provided for in the current agreement, namely a 2.5% salary increase on September 1st, 2012, and a step increment increase on November 1st, 2012. In light of this situation, it is the board's belief that continuing negotiations for an extension agreement would not be a productive approach to pursue. The time has come to move forward to negotiating a successor labor agreement to a contract that will expire on August 31st, 2013. The board has and will continue to honor its obligations under the 2008-2013 collective bargaining agreement. It welcomes the opportunity to begin intensive efforts to forge an agreement with the NCCFT for a successor labor agreement to the current contract. It is the board's belief that it will find common ground in the upcoming contract negotiations with the NCCFT, inasmuch as it shares with the NCCFT the common goal of providing a quality education to the students of Nassau Community College, recognizing the extraordinary fiscal challenges facing New York State, particularly Long Island's public educational institutions. Thank you all for entertaining me, and it is now time for the speakers list. First, I have Kimberly Reiser, and I just want Esther Bogan to acknowledge that you've yielded your time to Kimberly, and we will allocate 6 minutes to Kimberly Reiser.
We'll do our best to entertain. The Senate began the academic year in September with a positive view. We imagined that 2012-2013 would not be a year just to maintain the status quo, but rather a year rich in opportunities. Opportunities to reclaim our college for our students and the citizens of Nassau County, and to reimagine Nassau Community College. Of course, in September, we could not possibly anticipate the devastation one climatic event could wreak upon our college. Our entire community, students, faculty, administration, and staff, have suffered great loss, but we are moving forward. The faculty has been very mindful of the tremendous losses many of our students have incurred. Not only did our students lose homes, cars, possessions, and jobs, but they also lost their books and notes. Please be assured that the faculty has made multiple accommodations in and out of the classroom to lessen the burden of our students while maintaining academic integrity. The Academic Senate Executive Committee has worked closely with Officer in Charge Saunders, Dean Smith, VP Kanzati, other members of the administration, and the SGA leadership in order to ensure that our students are continuing to receive a high-quality education, and education that will meet their aspirations, the aspirations they had before October 29th. Dr. Saunders approached the crisis by consulting with the Senate leadership as events were rapidly unfolding before and after Hurricane Sandy. Of course, this is what shared governance is all about. Together, collaboratively, we were able to make decisions that we believe were academically sound and position the students not as the victims of such a catastrophic weather event, but rather as the victors. Lastly, it is heartening to hear that the board is proceeding with a search for the president of Nassau Community College and other searches. Clearly, we are a college in transition. The Senate will be relieved to hear that you are committed to moving forward with an eye to stability. I think we can all agree that we need a responsive, visionary, permanent president with a track record of success. One who is an experienced academic and committed to working hand in hand with the board, faculty, student staff, and administration in a culture of shared decision-making. And one who is steadfast in his or her resolve to uphold the principles of shared governance and academic freedom. We also look forward to beginning a search for academic vice president whenever that may be. The Senate remains concerned that we do not have an academic vice president, and that singular voice, so central to the mission of any institution of higher education, is not represented on the cabinet. VP Kanzati is doing a notable job in her position as executive vice president. However, academic leadership is just a small part of her expanding portfolio. In conclusion, thank you, and I wish you and your families a peaceful Thanksgiving with abundant blessings.
Phyllis Curlin.
Thank you. My name is Phyllis Curlin from the Student Personnel Services Department. I want to speak to you about the foundation. I am a major donor, a substantial donor to the foundation. I think you will find that in their records, and I have 2 scholarships currently in the foundation. So I'm going to speak to you tonight not as a faculty member, but as a substantial donor to the foundation. When I found out last spring that the foundation had removed the voice of the elected faculty and elected alumni representative from the board, and when I found out that the foundation had passed a confidentiality rule, a gag rule, if you will put it on, and that it was agreed to by its board members, I was very concerned as a donor. I called the executive director of the foundation and asked to speak to the foundation board itself rather than come here and complain to you. Go to the board itself, tell them what I felt. She told me that I would be invited to a board meeting. When I didn't hear, after a few weeks, I contacted her again, and she told me the chair of the foundation would call me. That didn't happen despite several phone calls and several emails over a period of 3 months. It's now the end of November practically. I have yet to hear from the foundation, yet to be invited to a meeting, or to hear from the board. Last week, I went on the internet to find out what I could about the foundation once again. Yet I could not find on the internet even a list of the members of the board. I could not find the name of the chair of the board, and I could not find a list of when the board meetings are. This is a complete lack of transparency, and I speak as a donor here. We have a lack of transparency, we have a lack of accountability, we have a tremendous potential for abuse on the part of the foundation. I regret that I gave my money to the foundation that behaves this way. Now, I don't accuse them of anything. How would we even know? We don't know anything about the foundation at all. I don't as a donor. I've not given any money since last spring. I've been planning to, frankly, it was my 65th birthday. I was going to do something big for the foundation, but I don't feel I can do that right now. I ask you, as the board, to look into the foundation, to restore transparency, restore accountability, and eliminate the possibility of abuse. I belong to the board of the FSA of this college. Our meetings are open to anyone. Our minutes are available for anyone to see. Anyone can come. We have transparency, but the foundation does not. If a donor such as myself gets what I would consider to be such shoddy treatment from the foundation, then I hate to think of what they're doing to others. And I hate to think of how much money is not being given to the foundation and is not being raised for the foundation if this is how their donors are treated. So I ask you for your help. I leave this in your hands, and I tell you this because I did the right thing first by trying to go to the foundation first. But their lack of response left me no alternative but to come and complain about this to you at the board. I hope you can do something, and thank you very much.
I apologize. Michael Sawyer.
Thank you, Mr. Prime. Good evening. Actually, I'm going to echo a bit of what Professor Curlin just said. I am Michael Sawyer, first Vice Chair of the Academic Senate, and did ask for this time to speak to you about donations. Please note that although I'm an officer of the Academic Senate, I'm speaking on my own behalf, yet as you've heard from Professor Curlin, I think that I'm expressing the opinion shared by a large portion of the faculty. Traditionally, the NCC Foundation makes an annual appeal for its holiday greeting card in support of the college's scholarship funds. Since I've heard faculty members inquire about the appropriateness of making contributions to the foundation this year, I sent out an email to all full-time faculty expressing my thoughts that I would now like to share with you. I've been an annual contributor to the Holiday Scholarship Drive since its inception several decades ago. I proudly served as the director of the NCC Foundation for 8 years, supporting its many fundraising activities and promoting them to the college community, especially when I was chair of the Academic Senate. However, during the past year, as you have been reminded, the NCC Foundation has turned away from the faculty by removing its 2 elected faculty directors. This, of course, was coupled with the Foundation's new cloak of secrecy, which they call its confidentiality policy. I also believe that the recent questions that were raised about the Foundation's federal and state tax filings is merely symptomatic of the lack of accountability at the Foundation in the absence of faculty oversight. Although it saddens me, I cannot in good faith contribute to the Foundation's scholarship drive this year without the reassurance that our elected faculty representatives are present and allowed to report back to us on most items, excluding the few obvious ones that mandate confidentiality, such as the name of an anonymous donor. The Foundation's recent contributions to the Hurricane Sandy relief efforts appear to be noble, but in this case, too, with the lack of faculty oversight, I feel more comfortable contributing to other appropriate charitable and union emergency funds, and I have done so. This is a personal choice, of course, but please keep in mind that it is one that is being forced upon us by the absence of transparency in the NCC Foundation's conduct over the past year. Although the Foundation is basically an independent body, I sincerely believe that if you, the Board of Trustees, were to encourage the Foundation to undo the fractured relationship it created last year, this will do much to enhance the well-being of the college and its students. Thank you.
They tell me this foundation is separate and independent, and we have no control over it. Which I understand you just said. What do you expect us to do? What can we do? Assuming
I believe
someone other than myself wants to do something about this.
I believe that the chair of the Board of Trustees is on the foundation. I don't even know, but traditionally the chair of the Board of Trustees has been on the foundation.
Well,
I believe that the president, and in this case the soon-to-be acting president, will meet with the foundation. So there's certainly an opportunity for input. I know that there are staff. I don't know who exactly staff here gets paid by the college or gets paid by the foundation, but we do work hand in hand. They're not completely separate from the college. So I would tend to think they would listen to the trustees more easily than to me as a faculty member.
I was told tonight that the majority of the directors of the foundation are not trustees and not employees of the college.
That's right.
So, I mean, how do we have control if this is what they want to do?
I am not a party to all the intricate relationships here. But I would tend to think, now, just like this is what happened in the situation that Dr. Siminoff brought up, all right? There was a question that was brought up, and Mr. Prime felt it was the obligation to explain to us here what was going on. So they're not completely separate from each other. If there's something that now I'm not accusing the foundation of any wrongdoing. I don't know that, because the trouble is we have no knowledge of what they do. But it seems to me that there's certainly a relationship between this body, the Board of Trustees, and the administration, and the foundation. The fact that they brought attorneys in last year to rewrite their bylaws to exclude the faculty, I don't think that was just brought upon by themselves. It may have been done by the previous administration at the college. I don't know.
Well,
and if it was done at the suggestion of the previous administration, then the current administration is free to make other suggestions to the foundation. I hope so too.
I think Mr. Donnelly.
Michael, as far as the points that Jeffrey raised earlier, the chair raised earlier, while they were brought here to the board, I think you should also remember that a number of us on the board said this should have been brought to proper authorities if they thought there was anything nefarious going on. We are in no control, as you indicated, of the board, right? So
Foundation.
The foundation. Something going on. But I think people need to understand that if there is anything in any way, shape, or form, as was brought up last time, in any illegal fashion, we have no control over that, and it should be brought to the proper authorities, whether it's the DA's office or the Nassau County Police Department.
I'm not talking about
I know you were not.
For example, the Academic Senate has its scholarship committee, and the scholarship committee works with the foundation in distributing these scholarships. They're not separate completely. It isn't like we're applying to the Ford Foundation for a grant or something like that. This is a foundation whose primary, I'm not quoting it exactly because I don't know, but the primary purpose is to support certain things at the college. They're not separate.
Just hold down on all the bugs in the. No, I don't want anyone to interrupt you. I know that there are people speaking over you in the background. I just wanted to make sure that you're.
But I'm saying that they're not. You cannot say they're completely independent. Legally, they are responsible to their own board. I realize that. But there has to be a way for the college to communicate its dissatisfaction with the way it's working. And I believe our students are going to be hurt, because if the scholarship funds are going to suffer, the students are going to suffer.
If I may, Michael, I think that when the information was brought to our attention about a potential series of improprieties at the NCC Foundation, although, as my colleague John Donnelly has indicated, we don't really have the ability to prosecute or to do anything with regards to changing what the foundation was doing or not doing. We thought that it was our fiduciary obligation to the college and to the good name of the college to conduct an investigation. And that was done. And clearly what Chair Prime has indicated to everyone here is that there was nothing that was done improperly. Maybe shoddy work by the accountant to the foundation, but it's two different areas. We have an obligation to the students, we have an obligation to you, we have an obligation to the college in whole, and to not take some measure to find out whether or not there was any wrongdoing would have been remiss on our part. But having said that, we really don't have the power to prosecute, we don't really have the power to do anything in that.
I'm not asking for prosecution.
No, I know you're not.
I'm asking for a letter.
And
We can start with that.
I'm sure that this administration, as Mr. Carnaccio has indicated, will try and meet with the foundation and try and figure out a way to handle it.
If I can just ask, we've always had a very good relationship, a good working relationship between the faculty and the foundation until the last 12 months. And that's something that really ought to be changed.
I think Dr. Saunders has been chomping at the bit to address some of your concerns.
I just think it would be unfair if I didn't address the fact that the foundation has heard a lot of the issues and the concerns that have been expressed by the faculty in terms of transparency, in terms of the justification for the confidentiality clause. And Mike, if you remember, the foundation made a request to me to meet first with the Academic Senate Executive Committee. That meeting was scheduled for October. That meeting was intended by the foundation to sit with you, to give you a full sense of what their guidelines are, their intent to work collaboratively with the faculty, the justification behind all of the changes that they have done. They've created publications that are going to create a greater degree of transparency in terms of all of the funding, where it goes, how it's been collected, how it's being distributed. And that meeting was canceled because of the issue that was brought to the Board of Trustees meeting last month. And it was decided in the Executive Senate Committee meeting that we would wait to have that meeting until such time as that issue was resolved. The executive director of the board and the executive leadership of the board are still waiting to have that meeting. They have also said that they are willing to stand before the academic senate body at large to address issues and concerns that have been identified, because they believe what they have done and how they're doing what they're doing to restructure their organization is done in such a way that once it is discussed and clarified, that the issues and concerns that are being articulated will be addressed. And I think we need to give them that opportunity, because they are still waiting to do that.
And I think we have to recognize that it was Don Astrand who started this. This was his brainchild. It started with him. He told us that in the executive session. And we sat there saying, well, I guess there's something going on that's got to be corrected. And we didn't do anything about it. There's no question it started with the administration. And you're right, it has to end with someone in the administration doing something about it. That's one man's opinion.
Mr. Carnaccio, I think we also have to recognize that Dr. Astrand has been gone from the campus for some months now. And I think we are making efforts to move forward. And I don't know what purpose it serves to keep dragging back into the past, because I think, as Dr. Saunders has just articulated, efforts are being made to move forward, and we are carrying this forward.
Just to let you know, the Senate did welcome the opportunity of that meeting. I'm sure Dr. Reiser will speak to you again about the possibility of that meeting.
I just want to put out there that, obviously, ultimately the students at some point is the beneficiary and kind of like goes through and receives a scholarship. And it will be I have full faith in the administration and foundation's best interest to work together with the faculty and work as a team, rather than, just not anybody knowing what's going on.
Just to my knowledge, I don't think there's going to be any effect this year about the scholarship being awarded. The scholarship committee is working with the foundation, is giving the money, but the long-term effect will be detrimental. I think we have to concern ourselves with that.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Baron Siminoff.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm sure you're very happy to see me again. I'm Dr. Baron Siminoff. It's nice to see that you're all here and survived this storm, and it's particularly nice to see you, Trustee Adams, here again. I reiterate what my colleagues just said. You have to remember that when the foundation was changed, that, I don't want to use the A word, but Donald A. Strath was the president of the college, but he was also the executive director of the foundation. And it appears that a lot of the changes that happened were in large part of his direction. I'm assuming that, again, I don't know, but I'm assuming, Mr. Prime, that you're still sitting on the foundation as a director. It's not a state secret, is it?
Your assumption is correct.
Okay, and I'm assuming, Ken, that you will soon be joining them.
Yes.
And at one point, I know that John Durso was sitting, although he has departed us also.
Is he still on the board?
No.
No. On the board of the foundation?
No. And the other thing to remember is that the president of this college sat as an ex officio officer, which means he was only sitting there because of his role in the college. I think for us to, legal fictions aside, of having legally created this foundation separately, we all know it's a nice legal fiction, we know what they're for, liability and all of that, it's easier to administrate.
Am I going to get CLE for this?
No, you are. But it is that. And this foundation, which has operated for over 20 years, has always operated as a very strong collaboration with the administration. After all, the president sits as an ex officio officer with the chair of our board of trustees and usually a few other members of the board of trustees, and with the faculty and faculty representative and the leadership, people in the faculty who are part of the leadership. So for us to pretend that there's this huge wall between the two, I think is not correct. So I'm hoping that at this point with Ken and hopefully with your leadership too, Mr. Pine, that we can take the foundation back to what it was. It wasn't broken, so we're not really sure why it was changed. All right, so that's it. So now let's move on to the report. First of all, thank you very much for the in-house investigation. I think that it would be good if Dr. Reiser and Ms. Sanchez were given a copy of the amended return. And hopefully you'll direct the accountants to send them one. I think they should have it for their records. I'm not going to answer point by point what you raised, because everybody's going to go to sleep anyway if I do that, because it's accounting jargon. But I did spend my weekend, thank you, Chuck, for reviewing your very lengthy response for investigation with all the documents, and I, of course, wrote up something in response. This time, just really in consideration of what you asked me last time, I brought copies of my response for everybody. I'm not persuaded that what was written in this report answers all the questions. In fact, to a large extent, there's more questions than not.
And I think that Mr. Donnelly had articulated previously that if you feel that there are improprieties and you feel that there was something untoward that was done, that you should, please, we encourage you, go to the authorities.
Well, I think it would be better in this case because, see, I can't know what happened because I'm not privy to doing my own investigation. I can't open up their books. I can't review.
Which is why I echo. If you're confident that something untoward was done, if you're confident that something untoward was done, and you would go to the authorities, I'm sure that they'd be able to answer some of the questions. The report that was prepared and the documents that I received that I alluded to has persuaded me that there were just ministerial errors and clerical errors.
Okay. And well, I hope that you'll read what I wrote and that you'll read it with an open mind.
Are you going to give it to us?
I am going to give it to
Thank you.
And that you'll reconsider.
Thank you.
And Chuck, I have a courtesy copy for you.
Thank you, sweet lady.
Frank Fresenda.
Hi, Frank Fresenda, Vice President at CFT. First of all, Dr. Saunders, congratulations on your pending title. And just wondering, does that change your job description or your job performance? I just, something that I was just wondering, and I don't know if, anything to do with the law, but when part of the 990 that we were talking about, we were talking about Mr. Friedman and Kimberly and Alicia as employees. I was wondering why Dr. Astrap and Mr. McGinnis weren't listed on it as part of the mistakes. Okay, but
just before I don't want to interrupt your time, but I think that was responded to in the full report that was reported, that was given to some of the leadership. So I'm sure if you reviewed that, it would answer some of the questions, the question you just raised.
That's fine. Okay. Of course, we're disappointed that the college did not take advantage of our offers of immediate financial relief during our contract negotiations. We entered into 18 months of talk in good faith to save the college money. Clearly, that was not the primary concern of the college. So now we have to go into full-blown negotiations, spend taxpayer money on what could have been easily resolved in the last 18 months, if there was a desire to bargain in good faith on the part of the college. As we enter into full negotiations, it will be interesting to see if financial relief is what the college is really seeking, or if there is a whole lot more. Thank you, and I wish everyone a safe and happy
Thanksgiving.
Esther Bogan has yielded her time to Kimberly Weiser. Jerry Corner. Or what?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'd like to share some of my thoughts with you about Nassau Community College. I'm a faculty member in the Math, Computer Science, and Information Technology. There's my glasses there. Usually people don't see me in glasses. We are all cognizant of the fact that the role of the community college is changing. The mission of the community college is obviously to help our students navigate in a highly technological and competitive world. It is therefore incumbent upon all of us to provide our students with the skills that are necessary to achieve this goal. And I think Nassau Community College probably does this better than any community college in the country. And I'd like to applaud the faculty on that. As administrators, board of trustees, faculty, staff, and student leaders, we must be responsive to the many obstacles that our community faces on a daily basis. However, we must also put some time aside in order to praise the positive actions that are taking place in our own Nassau Community College. Therefore, I would like to commend and applaud the leadership of Dr. Saunders and his cabinet, the deans and staff, the board of trustees, the academic senate, executive committees, the NCCFT leadership, the AFA, the CSEA, the student leaders, and of course the faculty for the outstanding job that they have done during the Hurricane Sandy and its aftermath. Under NCC's administrative leadership, a safe haven for our community has been provided, and some sense of normalcy has been brought back to their lives. Certainly, the administration and the faculty should be commended for helping our students get back on track after suffering the ramifications of Sandy's wrath. Nassau Community College has once again shown the true spirit of a community rising to help those in need. Although we all have some differences, our desire to help one another has been effectively demonstrated. And in conclusion, I just want to quote our former President Bill Clinton when he says, "We all do better when we work together." Our differences do matter, but our common humanity matters more. Thank you and have a great night.
Ed Boyden.
I'm Ed Boyden. I'm in the History Department and I'm Secretary of the Academic Senate. I'm speaking on behalf of the Senate Executive Committee now. We would like to ask, with all due respect, for an independent outside audit of the Foundation's books. And I realize that several of you have said that you're not the Foundation Board. We understand that, so you're not in a position to compel them to do anything. But you are in a position to communicate with them and convey to them our request that there be an outside audit. And let me stress, reiterate, and emphasize that calling for an outside audit by an independent auditing firm should not be taken to imply an imputation of wrongdoing by anybody. There's two separate issues we have to worry about. One is the possibility, however real it might be, that there was wrongdoing. The other problem is a lack of confidence by the faculty, possibly the students, and by members of the community in the Foundation. Those are separate issues. Even if there was, in fact, no wrongdoing, and I hope and trust and believe there wasn't, there's still a lack of confidence, okay? And there's only one way to address that lack of confidence, and that is for an independent outside audit of some kind, okay? I'm gonna bore you with my academic specialty now. There's a really well-known by people who care about this stuff, English judge in the 19th century who once said something really, really important. It's not enough to do justice. It must be seen that you are doing justice. It's not enough to do the right thing. People must see that the right thing is being done. And even if, as I said, there was no wrongdoing of any kind, it's still important to restore people's confidence in the Foundation. So we'd like to respectfully request in that spirit, in the spirit of restoring confidence of the faculty, of the students, of the community in the Foundation, that an outside audit be undertaken, which will allow everybody to move beyond this issue and go on to other things. So thank you. And happy Thanksgiving to all of you and your families.
Thank you.
Just to respond to the request for an independent audit, I do have a letter from Lisa Hahn, the internal auditor from the college, who did conduct an independent audit. But I also have, I apologize, I can't find it now. I believe Deloitte and Touche had conducted an independent audit, and they too had found that there was that it was all ministerial, and I believe that also was forwarded to the. If not, then we'll make sure we'll get that forward. But an independent audit was done. So thank you for that concern. And we'll make sure we'll get that out to the
I don't know.
Just to clarify what the chair just said, I'm not sure if that would qualify as an independent audit because Deloitte and Touche is the accountants for the college. But certainly I would echo what Ken said earlier. There is a meeting, from what I gather, planned. If you want to request an independent audit, you should be asking them, let's put that together as an option. I'm not saying that we wouldn't represent it also, but we can only ask a separate entity. We can't demand. I'm not saying I disagree with that. I'm just saying that hopefully you would take that time to also request that.
Thomas Jackson.
Hey, tell me. Where is it? There it goes. Hey, Thomas. How's it going?
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I'm actually not here today on the foundation. I figured I'd like to move.
That's good.
As many of you know, my name is Thomas Jackson, and I'm a member of SGA, but I'm here tonight as a student. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak with you guys, and part of my drop appearance is No Shave November, so for prostate testicular cancer. Anyway, the reason that I'm here is I'd like to thank everyone involved for giving nursing, and especially the chemistry department, the nice new life science building. And sadly, to say that there will be no need for it if the chemistry students don't get that extra help they need. Because of budgetary issues, the Chemistry Extra Help Center has had to reduce its hours and its staffing. I spoke with Dr. Saunders about this at the end of September. He informed me to go to the proper channels. So I did as I was told. I obtained a petition of just over 100 students with chemistry classes and presented it to Dr. Eilerman, the chair of the department. Waited 2 weeks and approached her again. She informed me that Mary, the full-time faculty at the Chemistry Help Center, presented her with numbers that how much it would cost to have someone there for 20 hours, 30 hours, and 40 hours a week extra. And I thought, great, there's some movement on it. And then she was going to present it to Dean Fernandez. I waited again, and when I asked, there was nothing, no movement, no sign of anything positive happening. And in the meanwhile, there are students who sometimes have to wait 2 to 3 hours for a chance to get some assistance at the center. And forget about during test time, like the wait is insane. I was able to write my name on a list, which is a list they keep for everyone who needs help for the day. I was able to go to the deli, grab a sandwich, and come back, and there were still 4 people ahead of me. And with the effect of the storm, it's actually getting even worse because now you're forced to create a funnel effect where you're cramming all this extra information in a short amount of time, and people aren't grasping it as easily, whether it's stress at home or the case may be. With all that being said, I would like the board to know that the students are in need of services and they're lacking. What we're asking for is an extra hand during the day hours and at least 3 hours during the week with the possibility of adding longer night hours. I'd like to see some positive movement and positive feedback about this, and that would be great. And thank you guys, and have a happy Thanksgiving.
Richard Newman.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Rich Newman. I am a professor in the English department. I'm also the communications coordinator for the NCCFT. And I'm also not here to talk about the foundation.
You just want gratuitous applause.
I just want gratuitous applause. That's all I'm here for. In Candace Ferretti's Newsday article last week about our presidential search, Trustee Cornacchio is quoted as saying that he is looking for someone who will bring stability and leadership to the college. Everyone here, I am sure, would say the same thing, though I doubt we would all mean precisely the same thing when we said it. Nonetheless, I hope we could all agree on at least 2 things. First, that public education of the sort that Nassau Community College provides has been perhaps the single most effective democratizing force in the history of the United States. And second, that any vision for the future of this college that does not include nurturing that strength is not a vision worth pursuing. The national trend in higher education of relying more and more on contingent teaching faculty directly undermines this characteristic of public education. Not because contingent faculty are not committed teachers and scholars, they are. Not because they do not care about the institutions where they teach or have nothing to offer outside the classroom, they do. But because their contingency leaves them beholden to the vagaries of the bottom line and or the changing needs of administrators. Those who advocate for this greater reliance on contingent faculty justify it as a response to precisely the kinds of funding and budget problems that NCC is facing. But this is, finally, a corporate executive response, one that values the bottom line and productivity over the quintessentially non-corporate goal of nurturing engaged, committed, curious, and therefore more than merely employable citizens. Indeed, the degree to which public higher education has been successful at democratizing this society can be linked directly to people like us, full-time faculty who commit our professional lives to the idea that education, far from being a contingent activity, is a force for the social good, and that institutions of higher education are responsible and accountable for the quality and integrity with which they pursue it. Nassau Community College does not have to follow the national trend. We can choose a president who sees full-time faculty not as a set of numbers skewing the bottom line into the red, not as a nuisance that gets in the way of greater efficiency and productivity, but as the institution's front line in preserving and fulfilling its mission. Our new president will still have to make very difficult financial decisions. But if those decisions are shaped by a shared vision of the role that public higher education plays, then our inevitable disagreements will end up making this institution stronger rather than threatening to tear it apart. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Show Coleman. Wolfman!
I'm Joel Cohen.
After December.
I'm Joel Cohen. Remember me?
Oh my God.
Now you're on my naughty list. I want to make a few comments about the foundation. I'm sorry, but in order for the foundation to function, and in order for us to interact with the foundation as we have in the past, we can have no less than complete, implicit trust in them. And they have violated that. They cannot really, as has been said, they cannot afford, given the importance of that foundation, they cannot afford the slightest appearance of any impropriety. Is it really a coincidence that at the same time they got rid of the faculty representative and the other position? That was the same time they decided to have a secrecy clause or a secrecy oath. You don't have a need for a secrecy clause unless there's a secret. And what has happened, as Phyllis Curlin has said, she's really thinking about whether she should give at all. When you have a foundation you cannot trust, I would say it makes a lot more sense for her to consider not to give than to give. Personally, I feel the same way. I will not give this year. And I can tell you, as a member of the scholarship of my department, we had intended to establish a scholarship for one of our deceased members, and it's not going to happen until that faith is restored. You can say that you have no input on it, but I would say you're remiss in not in some way communicating these feelings that you have heard from the faculty to that committee, to that foundation. It's lost faith, and therefore it cannot function. Students are going to be affected. The faculty obviously has serious questions about it. There has to be something that restores good faith to the foundation and is going to be able to work towards some reestablishment of a working relationship with them. The other point is this. Freeman, I can understand. Reiser, Sanchez, I can't. That's not a spelling error.
They're both women.
To say that, oh, well, you know, we thought we had paid them for some services that really weren't remunerated at all. Either someone on the foundation who relayed that communication to the accountants or the accountants themselves, that's incompetence. That's not spelling errors. That's not a typo. Thank you, and have a good Thanksgiving.
Just two quick points. I hate to sound like a broken record, but once again, I encourage everyone to please speak to your leadership about the full report that was compiled, and hopefully some of the questions that have been raised will be answered. Actually, just one quick point. The other quick point is I also want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving, and thank everyone for being here tonight. I know that there are many people here that were affected by the storm, and I know that it can be a burden getting out. Yes. The next Financial Capital Committee meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, December 18th, 2012 at 5 p.m. And the full board meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, December 18th, 2012. The board will open the public session at 6:30 p.m. and resume public session at, got my fingers crossed, approximately 8 p.m.
It's not about the foundation.
Hurry up. Come on up.
Okay.
Is this Newman?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Hi. Good evening. My name is Natalia Kuba. I'm one of the Link lecturers. If you're not yet familiar with us, we are the language immersion program for students who are aspiring to Nassau Community College. And I actually wanted to share with you some sad news. Because of the Hurricane Sandy, we lost one of our Link students,
Juan Carlos Granados. He was from El Salvador. He was 20 years old, very well liked, and I would respectfully request, also with my colleagues here tonight, a moment of silence to remember this student of ours. Thank you. I would also like to express my gratitude, or our gratitude, to the folks from Student Services and who provided grief counseling for his classmates, and who also donated to the Link Fund. We're trying to help his aunt and uncle with whom he lived be able to send the body home to his parents. And the Link community has raised about $1,500 so far towards helping the family. So we're very grateful to those donations. And that's it. I wish you all a very happy Thanksgiving.
Likewise.
Everything I said about finance and capital in the next board meeting still applies. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Any abstention?